The time is 6:03 p.m. We will now call this regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humboldt Independent School District to order. Our first item of business is a public hearing regarding the 2022 State Financial Management Report, School First Report for the year ending June 30th, 2021. The report and presentation will be given by Finance Director Laura Ham. Go ahead and proceed. And if you can pause a little bit. Yeah, I think we're just opening. But Stephanie went back, so I'm pretty sure she's gathering them. Yes. Thank you. You may begin. Thank you.
The Director of Accounting and Financial Reporting with Humboldt ISD, and I have the pleasure of presenting the 2022 final rating for School First. First, as you all know, is a rating system utilized by TEA. It stands for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. Brief overview, it was implemented about 20 years ago in 2003 based on fiscal year 2002 data. It expands the way that the accountability system in Texas is provided for financial services specifically. And there are rules in the Title 19 of the Texas Administrative Code that govern kind of how this rating is calculated. Its primary goal is to achieve quality performance in the management of school districts' financial resources. And there have been some recent changes, and we'll talk about some of those changes today. But as you may recall, last year it went from 15 indicators to 20 indicators. And so that was a kind of a big change that was implemented in rating year 2021, which was based on fiscal year data 2020. You do have a full report in front of you. I won't be going through each of the pages there, but I will be referencing some of the page numbers. So, for example, some of the commissioner's rules of the School First, the Title 19 is contained, and it starts on page 28 of the report. I'll start with the good news first. For the 20th consecutive year, the district has received the highest rating possible through TEA, and we have received a superior achievement rating. We did score 98 out of the possible 100 points, so that's always worth celebrating. I know that we come up here and we present this every year, and we kind of lose sight of all that goes into receiving this rating. So we're really proud that we have been able to state that we're one of those districts that have been able to attain this. And in the audience, there's some of our financial services people represented as well. So I'm really, really glad for their support. And of course, we couldn't make this possible without everyone's involvement. As far as statewide ratings, I just wanted to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like statewide for the 2022 rating year. There were 85% of districts and charter schools that did receive the superior achievement rating. 10% were above standard, 4% met standard, and there unfortunately were 1% that had a substandard achievement or did not pass the first rating. This slide just shows you the determination of the rating and how the range of points are given. Basically, anything over 70 points you pass, either with superior, above standard, or meeting standard. We will talk about it on the next slide, but there are 4 critical indicators that if a school district does not meet any one of those critical indicators, you automatically fail, even if you receive the full points on all the other remaining indicators. So it's really critical that school districts do meet every single requirement of the critical indicators. And I did want to point out that prior to last year's rating, the minimum point value needed to meet standard was 60. So that was also a change that has been made in the recent years. I mentioned that there's 4 critical indicators. There's also 5 ceiling indicators, which means that if you don't pass that specific indicator, which we'll see a few of them during the presentation today, your maximum then bumps down. So instead of having a possible 100, it may bump down to an 89 or 79. So that just bumps you down a whole rating potentially. So these are the 4 critical indicators, and I stated we passed all of them, one of which is submitting the annual financial report by a specific deadline. For us, that's December 28th. We submitted that by November 12th of last year. As you heard, the external independent auditors last month report on our audit for the fiscal year 22. They do that every November. They did issue an unmodified or a clean audit opinion, so that's also another critical indicator. The district was in compliance with the payment terms of all debt agreements, and in addition, the district made timely payments to TRS, TWC, the IRS, any other governmental agency. So again, these 4 indicators are critical, as they are called, because if you don't meet any of them, you do not pass first. I mentioned that there were some indicators that were not being scored. One is not new. It hasn't been scored in a number of years, since the 2018 rating year, and that's indicator 5. And the reason that that has not been scored in a number of years is just due to changes with the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, issuances of accounting changes. And so due to that, it hasn't been scored. TA really hasn't come up with what they're going to replace that indicator with. However, indicator 10 and 15 were new indicators last year that were rated last year, but this year they were not. And the reason is they were just deemed to have too much of an impact related to COVID-19 and, of course, federal ESSER funding on school district revenue. The 2 indicators is 10 and 15. 10 is, comparing budgeted revenues to actual revenues for the last 3 fiscal years. That was not rated, although we did get the points for that indicator, which was 10 points, and all school districts received the same. And indicator 15, that was not rated this year, was in regards to ADA. As we know, that has been, not easy to predict, and so the TA decided not to rate that indicator, but we did get 5 points for that indicator. All right, indicator 6. This is a ceiling indicator, so we don't get points for this, but again, it's a kind of a pass-fail, and if you don't, then it bumps you down. In this case, this is just asking for the average change in our assigned and unassigned fund balances over 3 years. And so I know that that's always something that we discuss, especially at year-end when we're looking at the financial report. And what TA is looking for is to not see a decline in your fund balance of more than 25%. Fortunately for our district, we haven't had a decline. We've actually had an increase for the last 3 years. And you can see kind of in the chart to the left there, we had an 8.9% increase in the 2020 year, 10% increase in the 2021 year, and about 9% increase in the 2022 year. So we didn't have anything decrease. But if we don't meet that, then we just have to meet the second criteria, which is essentially having a certain number of days of operational expenditures, and the minimum is 75. And as you can see in the chart to the right there, we more than surpass that minimum requirement. Indicator 7 is regarding the number of days of cash on hand. So one thing is fund balance, but the other thing is what do you have in the bank, what to meet payroll, to meet debt requirements, that sort of thing. And so what they're looking to see is that the general fund has sufficient funds to cover operating expenditures, and that minimum ranges, and so you can see kind of the ranging scale at the bottom there. To get the full 10 points for this indicator, you have to have at least 90 days of cash on hand, which we have met that for the last 3 rating years. Anything over 30 days, you do get some points, but you don't get the full points. So we did get 10 points for this indicator. Indicator 8 is essentially looking or comparing the district's current assets to current liabilities, and essentially all they're looking to see is if we have 3 times the amount of assets, basically what we own or what we have versus what we owe, right? So anything over 3 will get you full 10 points, and for the last 3 rating years, we have met that requirement. Indicator 9, again, is kind of a 2-part question, which we do meet both of the requirements. Essentially, TA is looking to see, did we spend more than we earned? And so if you have revenue more than expenditures for each of the years, that you'll meet this criteria. If that's not the case, then you have to just maintain a minimum number of days of cash on hand, which for this indicator is 60. And of course, we meet both of those requirements. Indicator 11 also is kind of a two-part indicator, but they're looking to compare our long-term liabilities to our total assets for the school district to just ensure that it's sufficient to support any long-term solvency. Essentially, this is asking something similar to, does the mortgage exceed the market value of your home? Something to that effect, right? So you get the full 10 points if you have less than a 0.60. So if you see in the chart here for the last 3 years, we're slightly over that. So we would have lost a couple of points on this indicator if it was just based off of that alone. But in this case, the second part to this is, if not, was the district's change of students 7% or more? So we know that our enrollment has increased over time, and so our student membership has increased by 10%, 11%, 10% in the last 3 rating years. So we meet the criteria for this indicator based off of that second part of the requirement. Indicator 12, this is where we lost the 2 points, but they're essentially looking to see, was our debt per $100 of assessed property value ratio sufficient to support future debt repayments? And the ratio that they're looking for is anything less than 4, and we're slightly over that. This year, we're a little bit more over that than in the prior two years, but we're within the range of 4 and 7, so we do get 8 points for this indicator. Indicator 13, this is basically looking at the percentage of the budget that basically Texas school districts spend on administration. TEA looks closely at that. They want to maintain it within, depending on your ADA, they want to maintain it below a certain threshold or ratio. And for a school district of our size, we have to maintain a ratio of less than 8.55%. And so for the last 3 rating years, we're well below that. So we get the full 10 points for this indicator. For this indicator, this is essentially just looking at if there's any decline in student to staff ratio over the last 3 years. We know that we haven't had a decline in even student enrollment, so that's the second part. If student enrollment did not decrease, the school district will automatically pass this indicator. So the chart over here to the left just kind of shows the growth over the last 5 years, and the table over to the right shows the actual increase, between from the 2020 rating year, 2022, but it's comparing a 3-year range. Indicator 16 is a ceiling indicator. Again, we don't get any points for this indicator. However, if we don't meet it, it bumps us down to an 89 or a B, essentially, rating. But this is one that I'm really, really proud of. Essentially, this is a comparison of 2 ways that we submit data. We submit data through our PEIMS submission, which we're about to submit that for our mid-year submission for the current or the previous fiscal year. But then we also submit our annual financial report to TEA. So those are 2 sets of data. And so what TEA does is compare them, and they want to see, do the numbers match up? Does everything align? And of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. They allow for 3% variance. And so for us, for a district of our size and based off of our general fund expenditures, for the 2022 rating year, our allowance would have been $12.9 million in terms of having a difference between those 2 submissions. Our actual variance was $546. So this is something that I'm very proud of because obviously we're well below the allowed variance. Indicator 17 and 18, I put them together on the same slide because they're based off of the external independent audit. Indicator 17 is looking to see whether we had any material weaknesses in internal controls or over financial reporting and compliance for local, state, and federal funds. And as you have heard our auditors express in the past, that they have not found any material weaknesses in these areas in internal controls. And the second one is similar, but it's in regards to noncompliance for grants, contracts, and laws related to local, state, and federal funds. Again, there have been no disclosures of material noncompliance, and this comes directly from our external independent auditors. Indicators 19 and 20, these are more compliance with legal and state requirements. So it's looking to see whether we posted all the required financial information on our website. There's rules governing that, and we have met those requirements. And indicator 20 is looking to see whether the school board discussed the district's property values at a board meeting within 120 days before the district adopted its budget. We do meet that requirement. So both of these were yes. All right, so starting on page 12 of your report are just required disclosures. These are, again, required by the rules in the Texas Administrative Code. It requires us to include the superintendent's current employment contract, and that's included in one of the attachments. It also requires us to show the expenditures paid on behalf of or reimbursements received by the superintendent and by you all, the board members. And there's certain requirements and things that we need to report, so that's included as well. It requires us to report any outside compensation and or fees received by the superintendent for professional consulting and or professional services. That's included in there, which there's nothing to report in that area. Gifts received by executive officers and board members and first degree relatives, if any. And again, there were nothing to report in that area. And then the last two are just business transactions between board members and the district, and then any other information that the Board of Trustees is determined to be useful. So all that is included because it's required as part of the rules governing what we report as part of this, this school first rating. All right, with that, I'll leave it open to any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Laura. Are there any questions or comments? Thank you. The public hearing, the public hearing is now open. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this topic? Hearing none, I close this public meeting. A closed session of the board will now be held on the matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is 6:20 p.m. The time now is 7 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. Thank you for joining us tonight. A reminder that the meetings of the board are open to the public but are not a meeting of the public. The Humble ISD Board of Trustees meet monthly in a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and take action from recommendations of the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation several days in advance of the regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions in advance of the regular meeting. Therefore, lengthy discussions are not always necessary on every agenda item. But as a board, we do have the appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of the meeting tonight. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item. Our colors tonight are presented by the Kingwood High School Navy JROTC. I would ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag.
Right. Face. Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Carry. Colors. Post. Colors. right, face, forward, march, left, 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 right, right, left.
We will now observe a moment of silence. You may be seated. Thank you. Moving to our next agenda item, commendations and recognitions. Dr. Fagan, can you please introduce tonight's inspiring moments?
Absolutely. Thank you for being here this evening. We're very excited to have this inspiring moment. Only 6 high school choirs in Texas were invited to perform at the 2023 Texas Music Educators Conference in February in San Antonio. We are very proud that one of those 6 choirs is from Humble ISD. Here to introduce them is their director, Jason Watt.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan and Board of Trustees. More than 20,000 people attend TMEA each year, from elementary, middle, and high school music teachers to professors, professional musicians, and more. To be invited to perform at TMEA, you have to send recordings from the past 2 to 3 years and submit a proposed program of music to be performed if you get invited. The recordings are judged and rated by a panel of educators and administrators from across the state. The panel does not know what schools they are listening to. Choirs that make it past this first level of scrutiny then have their proposed programs of music reviewed, and the panel then chooses 6 high school choirs to perform at the convention. This is a tremendous honor and is akin to a sports team winning a state championship. Only Men Aloud, or OMA, as they are typically called, was selected and will be presenting a 25-minute program of music showcasing a variety of classical choral pieces at the convention in February. Tonight, we will be performing Cry Out and Shout, which is one of the songs we will present at the convention. We will also be singing the aptly titled There's a Meeting Here Tonight, and an arrangement of Jingle Bells. Both pieces we performed for concerts earlier this year. The soloist for There Is a Meeting Here Tonight will be junior Nico Riccio.
There is a meeting, there is a meeting, there is a meeting, there is a meeting, there is a meeting here tonight, there is a meeting here tonight, there is a meeting here tonight, there is a meeting here tonight. Well, there's can tell by your friendly face. There's a meeting here tonight. Hallelujah, there's a meeting here tonight. There's a meeting here tonight. I can tell by your friendly face. There's a meeting here tonight. Well, I went down in the valley one day. I went down in the valley one day. Met old Satan on my way. Met old Satan on my way. What do you reckon old Satan did say? What do you reckon old Satan did say? He said, turn back, young man, you're too young to pray. Too young to pray, too young to pray. Well, there's a meeting here tonight. There's a meeting here tonight. I can tell by your friendly face. There's a meeting here tonight. Oh, there is a meeting. Oh, there is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. Hallelujah. There is a meeting. Oh, there is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. There is a meeting, Lord. There is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. There's a meeting here tonight. There's a meeting here tonight. I can tell by your friendly face. There's a meeting here tonight. Well, Satan got mad and I am glad. Satan got mad and I am glad. Lost the soul he thought he had. Lost the soul he thought he had. Satan is a liar and a conjurer too. Satan is a liar and a conjurer too. You better watch out, brother, he'll conjure you. Conjure you, conjure you. Well, there's a meeting here tonight. There's a meeting here tonight. I can tell by your friendly face. There's a meeting here tonight. Oh, there is a meeting. Oh, there is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. Hallelujah. There is a meeting. Oh, there is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. There is a meeting. Oh, there is a meeting. There is a meeting here tonight. There is a meeting here tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one horse open sleigh. Oh, the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is wide, go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing the sleighing song. Just get a bobtail nag, 240 for his speed. Then hitch him to an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead. Oh, jingle bells, jingle, oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle, 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 oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Yes, I tied my shoes today. Yes, I tied my shoes today.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this, Mr. Watt. We really appreciate it, and it was an outstanding performance. We're very, very proud of what you have here, and congratulations on your state championship. Absolutely. Thank you so much again. Okay, next, Jerry Monbaron, Chief Community Engagement Officer, is here with some exciting news about the Foundation's Employee Giving Campaign.
Thank you. And while it is exciting news, I'm actually going to let the Education Foundation Chair, Deborah Rose Miller, share the information with you.
Thank you, Jerry.
So one of the joys I get as being the chair is getting to brag on our teachers and the administrators. So I promise to be concise, but maybe not quick tonight, because we have a lot to share with you. So on behalf of the Education Foundation, in September, we launched our One Family, One Mission employee campaign this year. And we felt this theme really did reflect what our administration staff is all about, and that is helping our students every day reach for the stars, because that's what they do. Tonight, I'd love to highlight that our generous support of this campaign, that we exceeded both in employees and dollar amounts. We have 3,690 employees participating with $3,482, which is both of them larger than last year. So that's an exciting, exciting number for you. The last 9 years, over $300,000 has been donated to the foundation from our employees, and we were at a recent workshop, and we believe we'll probably have the highest employee campaign of any other education foundation in the school districts in Texas. So that's not a fact, but since you heard it here, we'll count it as a fact, right? Because we think we have bragging rights. Obviously, our employees are very generous, even though we know that they have lots of ways they can give to this community. They always support the Education Foundation and what it does, and that, of course, allows us to be able to do what we do constantly at the level we can for these innovative grants, which we've already launched our campaign. As you can tell, the application is out there. Sunday, February the 13th is the closing date, so you all remember that to tell your staff. So. You know, it's a really tough, when we have 53 campuses in this school district, to be able to run this campaign, and the key is having our campus representatives who are our liaison and keep the focus of the Education Foundation and what we do in front of the employees. So I'd just like to acknowledge these 53 people who really did make the success of this event happen this year. If you all could give me a round of applause for these 53 folks. You know, it takes all of this to be able to pull this event off, for sure. And in addition to that, because of our theme this year being one family, don't have it memorized, one family, one mission, we had several campuses that went kind of out of this world, so to speak, in their recognition and what they accomplished. I want to make sure that these campuses are noted. Deerwood Elementary, Green Tree Elementary, Oaks Elementary, and I believe Principal Smith is here tonight. Thank you. Creekwood Middle School, Keenwood Park High School, and Sconzo Early College High School all exceeded with high participation in dollar amounts over and above all the rest. So we just wanted to acknowledge these campuses and their efforts too. And I'd be remiss tonight if we didn't acknowledge Christy Tarkington. She's the one that spearheaded this entire campaign. It's like running 53 campaigns all at one time, and she's our big picture thinker and attention to detail, and keeps all the fun and excitement going with this campaign. So thank you, Christy, for all of that. And I have one last message before we do our photos tonight that I wanted to share with you. At your station there, the trustees, you should have our brochure. This is a new endowment giving brochure that we have, and a coaster so that you can remember our endowment this year. One of my focuses as your chair for the next 2 years, and as we lead into January 2024, we will be celebrating our 25th anniversary. So leading into that, we are focused on our endowment. Thanks to the the leaders that we had starting the foundation, we've always had 30% of the funds that we raise go towards these unrestricted funds towards our endowment. And so we've reached about $2 million over our 23, soon to be 24 years towards that endowment. And so my focus and goal is that by the end of our 25th anniversary, we will hit the $5 million mark. And what that $5 million mark will allow us to do is not be in the event business so much, so we don't have to be worried about what may happen with hurricanes, heaven forbid, or pandemics, or anything else that may derail events and pull us from other resources in the community that we'll be able to pull from the interest earned off that endowment to keep funding at the level we need to. So that's kind of a long-range planning that we're really making a focus. So you have this little coaster so you can remember that it's inspiring the future today. And Jerry will be happy to take any pledges that you'd like to do towards our endowment on that, but we are kicking that off the beginning of the year and leading in, you know I had to ask. So we are definitely focused on that part in addition to all the success we're having. So I just want to keep that in mind for you. So getting back to the employee campaign, obviously tonight we want to make sure that Dr. Fagan and I just gave you an increase. President Martina Dixon joins us, and of course our Representative Ken Kirchhofer representing us down here along with our staff. And Ms. Smith, if you'd like to join us for our photo with our check.
And super staffers will be back in February. So that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you. The next item is public comment. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedure outlined on the agenda. The board asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 1 minute. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. In addition, the board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure, at the lowest administrative level, a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Complaints brought by students or their parents, by employees, and by citizens may be heard in accordance with board policies. Each of these processes provides that if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the board as a properly posted agenda item. Copies of our district policies on public participation in meetings and filing complaints are available on the Humboldt ISD website. Our first, we have one speaker this evening, Carolyn Mashburn.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak today. I am Carolyn Mashburn, and tonight I come come here to thank you. I am particularly interested in reading skills, and I know that our school has quality reading opportunities for pre-readers, learning to readers, and lifetime readers. You provide all of that. And although I know it's important that parents control what their own children read, it's also important that the school decides when reading options are available, what reading options are available to all students. Banning books is never the right answer. Choice is the answer. And again, you do that. Thank you for providing quality, carefully selected authors and books for our students. You do a great job, and I just wanted to publicly say so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, comments by individual board members. And actually, I'm going to start tonight. I'm going to be very brief. Just want to say Merry Christmas and have a blessed holiday season to all of you. And I wanted to thank our city council member from the Humble City Council, Mr. Bruce Davidson, for joining us tonight. Thank you so very much for being here, council member. Mrs. Morrison.
Well, thank you. Well, I will be brief too. I wish everybody a happy holiday, and I hope you rest and you stay safe and come back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kirchhoffer.
I'll echo everybody. Merry Christmas and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Mrs. Parker.
I too will be brief. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I do want to give a shout out to Brigham Bear, who was the honoree at the Mothers Against Cancer Luncheon. He is a cancer survivor, bassoonist at Kingwood High School, and their family is just awesome. So anyway, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
So, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your families. Look forward to seeing you next year.
Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of things. I wanted to just shout out to our student Eduardo Trevino. As I'm sure you've seen it. He was he won a national contest for mariachi. 10 years old, one of our students. So that was really great. And hats off to, well, big hats off to him. It's like, and then also, too, I mean, this is a great season to get to see some really great entertainment. And even starting before Thanksgiving, the Men's Night Out choir concert at Summer Creek High School, that was pretty awesome. And you guys, some of you were there, and you got to enjoy that. And then there was another concert just, I guess it was last week or the week before, the Itasca High School choir. That was fantastic as well. And Summer Creek High School came and entertained at the last HARTA meeting, and they were fantastic. They really were. And then there also was the fine arts, I guess, displays. The works of art, I never ceases to amaze me how great those paintings and drawings and all of that those pieces are. And then also there was the Humble High School Quintet was providing music while you got to look at all the great artwork. So that was a lot of fun. And let's see, what else? Oh, I would just also, the Itasca, were you going to mention this one? About the camel club? Why don't you? Okay, you can do that one. And I just would like to, personally, since I have the honor of serving on the board of the Village Learning Center, I want to thank, there were over 20 of our Kingwood Park High School students who came for a day of service at the village facilities and did everything from raking leaves to cleaning the bus vans. And they're just superb. They come often, and I just want to thank them for doing that for us. And I think that's, fun fact, Jingle Bells, as probably some of you know, was really written as a Thanksgiving song. And it was co-opted, I guess, by the Christmas choirs, but it was actually a Thanksgiving drinking song. Well, they liked to party back then. And then, and it's funny, I asked Lori when she sent out the decision on the mascots for North Belt Elementary, I'm sorry, it's not North Belt, the new campus, North Bend Elementary, and it was very close. So I asked her if the mascot for option 2 was going to contest the count, because they only lost by 6 votes, so I don't know. But both of them look great, so I guess you couldn't lose going with either one. And I just also echo what everyone said, a very blessed Christmas and other holidays that folks celebrate this time of the year, and hopefully a healthy, happy New Year for everyone as we come back and crank away again. So thank you.
Mr. Sitton?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So as the fall semester is coming to a close, parents, try to keep your kids, especially your high school kids, calm this week, and your junior high kids calm this week, because they have finals going on. And I tell you what, I don't think 1 o'clock on Friday could come fast enough, especially for our household. Our daughter is handling finals this week, and yeah, she's a teenage girl too, so no offense, but I think those of you out there that have teenage girls know exactly what I'm talking about. But, the fall semester's coming to an end athletically as well. A lot of success on the volleyball court, a lot of success on the football field. And as Mr. Scarfo passed this note over to me, I was planning on mentioning it, but I do appreciate him looking at it. There was a contest from Dave Campbell's Texas football, Most Driven. And the Atascocita Eagles football team won, and they will be presented at AT&T Stadium on Saturday. Pep Boys Auto is sponsoring this, and they'll be presented with a check for $10,000 for their efforts. So well done by the Eagles, well done by all of our athletic teams, all of our support groups, our bands, cheerleaders, drill teams that participated all year. And with that said, everybody have a very Merry Christmas and a safe and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Our next item is comments by the administration. Dr. Fagan?
Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful first semester, and I just want to thank everybody for all of the hard work. I've been out on lots of campuses, and they're just wonderful places to be. It's very warm and engaging, and our students are in great hands. So I hope all of those hardworking staff members have a wonderful few weeks off with their families so that they can get charged back up for another wonderful semester in the spring. So I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. Be safe, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Thank you. We will now have updates from our board associations and committees. First committee is the Advocacy Committee. Mrs. Parker?
Nothing to report, but we'll be back at it in 2023.
Yes, you will. Audit Committee, Mrs. Morrison.
Nothing to report until January.
Building and Planning Committee, Mr. Sitton.
Yes, our next meeting will be Thursday, but there are a couple items on the agenda. One is to approve an architect recommendation and also a deductive change order. And if I could, Dr. Fagan, we get change orders periodically, and we get deductive change orders every now and then. And there's been a little bit of conversation of what exactly is a deductive change order. Would you briefly explain that?
Well, deductive change orders are actually good news in the construction process. Toward the end of projects, we often have savings, or the project did not require all of the funds available that were budgeted to it. And so then we have a deductive change order, which means those dollars come back to the district to use on a different project where the funds are needed. So deductive change orders are good news, and we always try to have those happen at the end of the projects.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Board and Superintendent Evaluation Committee, that's me, nothing to report. Finance Committee, Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you. We will meet next on the beginning of March 2nd. And I just want to also...
You said March 2nd?
I believe it, March 2nd, yeah, of 23.
Oh, that's the next meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, for the budget.
I'm
I thought you
sorry,
meant Finance Committee. I was like, wow, we have a big
Well,
break.
for the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
It's true.
It is March, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yes,
thank
yeah.
you, that's great.
Well, we have some time off, but they don't. So,
They don't.
But
Thank you.
I just want to tell folks who might hear or watch later, we had the public hearing on the first report. And if you really want to get a sense of the financial workings of the district and how things are going, you don't have to read the entire report, but I would just encourage you to just look at pages 4 through 10 of that report and just, read the indicators and then the explanations in terms of how we did on each of those. You really get a good sense of what's going on, and I think it gives you also a good level of comfort in terms of how the finances are managed in the district and for the taxpayers, for the community at large. I think it's something to be very proud of, getting a score of 98 out of 100. That's a nice score to take home. So congratulations, Mr. Beatty, and everybody who took part and played a role in this, which is really everybody in the district. That's how we are able to achieve these kind of things. So congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. Education Foundation, Mr. Kirchhoffer.
Merry Christmas, Jerry, Chrissy, and the whole team.
Thank you. Kingwood Super Neighborhood Council, Mr. Holmes.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Action items from closed session. Item 4A, personnel recommendations. Mr. Kirchhoffer, do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations with addendum as presented in closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Moving to item 5, our consent agenda. Item 5A, approval of minutes for the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, November 8, 2022. Consent. Item 5B, approval of minutes for the special board meeting held on Tuesday, November 15, 2022. Consent. Item 5C, budgetary transfers and amendments. Consent. Item 5D, bond fund transfers and amendments. Consent. Item 5E, approval of goods, professional services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. Consent. Item 5F, 2022-2023, construction and construction-related purchases. Consent. Item 5G, tax refunds. Consent. Item 5H, board authorization of interlocal agreements. Consent. Item 5I, approval of RFP number 2021-006R, educational service consultants. Consent. Item 5J, approval of RFP number 2023-102, services, repairs, maintenance, installation district-wide. Consent. Item 5K, approval of RFP number 2021-007R-11, educational and curriculum subscriptions, internet and web database access and software. Consent. Item 5L, consideration of architect selection for Timberwood Middle School Improvement Project. Consent. Item 5M, approval of RFP number 2021-003R, supplies, equipment, and services for students with disabilities. Consent. Item 5N, deductive change orders. Consent. Mr. Kirchhoffer, can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5N.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. There are no action items on the agenda this evening. Next item is 7A, Financial Services Reports. It is a monthly administrative item. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding this item? Seeing none, moving to our closing items. Are there any topics for future board business? The time is now 7:36 p.m. The meeting is now adjourned. Merry Christmas.